Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss Anjali S. Ma'am's copy. She was AIR 26 of UPSC CSE 2017 and her marks was 289 and her rank was 26. So the answer today we are going to discuss the question is present a feminist reading of a doll's house. So there are many questions on which we have to present a feminist reading of the work. So beforehand we can prepare for such feminist readings and what all sort of things we need to write and how we have to present a feminist reading. So it's a good answer, but it's a fairly long answer. We do not have this much space to write in actual copy, so we'll just take out the important points and how she has incorporated the quotes and the phrases from the text, and she has used it in the answer, and how she's presented. We'll be looking into that. So she writes Ibsen's play A Doll's House, written in 1879. So you can mention the year, it is fine. If you don't, there's no negative marking for it, and it's just to present that you know the age and you know the background of the novel, where it was written and what was the condition of the society back then. So it gives a good impression, but if you don't write, it's fine. It's not that negatively impacting your answer. So it marked the birth of not just the modern drama but also the modern woman in her pursuit for identity. Now he is presenting a feminist reading of The Doll's House. So she's also presenting that it was not just the birth of modern drama but also modern women. So now she's directly linking it to the question which was asking for a feminist reading. So you have to focus on the feminist aspect of the novel in a pursuit for her identity independent of the laws that men dictated for the world. In the first paragraph itself, she's presenting that she has a very crisp understanding of what the question is demanding, and she's also hitting the important chords of how she's going to present the answer. So the introduction is in line with the demand of the question, and she's also used the key words: her pursuit for identity, and men dictated for the world, the laws that men dictate for the world, modern women. So now she's writing beginning from from Nora, who is Towel's Helmer, Little Luck. So now she's using um, the the phrases or the quotes from the text, but she's not changing the paragraphs. Many of the students have this doubt that if we are presenting a quote, we need to change a paragraph or we need to give some space. So that will take a lot amount of space in your entire answer. Rather than to include these phrases in the sentence itself, it gives a good visual also, and also does not waste your space because the space is already less and you have to write a lot about it. So, beginning from Nora, who is Towel's helm, a little lark and squirrel, we see the transformation of a woman who is conditioned to the subjugation by her husband, to her questioning of the conventions, and her abrupt decision to leave the hypocritical husband in search of an identity outside of the domestic life. Now she is presenting the entire crux of the drama, The Doll's House, and how she's presenting in a feminist view, how Nora is uh, uh, a feminist, and she finally finds out that she has her own identity apart from the domestic life which she was subjugated to. So now she is presenting, ma'am has presented in the first paragraph itself, she has presented a very crisp understanding of what she means of the feminist reading and is she going to present in the answer. So this gives a very good impression that you have understood the question very well and you're going to address it in a very systematized manner. Next, she writes, hence, this transformation makes A Doll's House a unique reading by the single protagonist moving through three phases of feminism. So, this is very important how you know about the feminism aspect also, and you also are going to link about how this feminism, the three phases of feminism, is going to be evolved through Nora in the entire drama. Now, this from initiation to identification of injustice, Nora says her father and her husband had done her grave injustice. You can also include the same where she says, "You have done me great wrong. I have lived from hand to mouth in your house." So you can also use sentences, and you can also explain it like she has explained. Nora says her father has and husband has done a grave injustice. You can also use this, or you can also use the quotation to marking her resentment to the third wave of feminism, a remarkable identification of her independent existence that was beyond what the society offered among the Christian possibilities that tied her down. So now she is also presenting how she is moving through the three phases of feminism, from identification to making a resentful demand, or by resenting the place which the society has given her, and then finally making her own place. She slammed the door and she went out and to find her own identity. Next she writes, now she's also changing paragraphs. She has written, the introduction was one paragraph, then she has said the three phases of feminism, how Nora moved through the three phases of feminism, and then next she changes the paragraph. Every new paragraph has to be something new which you have to present, and make it a shorter paragraph. Don't You don't need to make a large paragraph to just say few words or few ideas. If you can, the more you the more crisper you write an answer, it will be more diverse, and you'll be awarded good marks for that. Now Ibsen himself in his later articles identify the existence of two kinds of moral laws for women and men. So now she's doing, she's giving an argument, and she's also giving an analysis for it, how the moral laws are different for men and women, that are quite incomprehensible to each other. While a doll's house portrays the injustice of the women having to comply with the laws of morality that men determined for the world. So this was the two kinds of moral laws. One was for the women, and other were made by the men, and how the women were subjugated to such laws. So if you're presenting an argument, you are connecting it with evidence from the text. So now next she writes, she such an exclusive male society leads to the complicated plot of having Nora being accused of forgery. Now how she is presenting the male society which made the laws had made Nora accused of the forgery, while her moral compass points to the intention behind forgery to be just and fair. Even though she was just and fair, still she had to suffer the consequences of the forgery. The tragedy that transcends on their home begins with a realization of her own husband's moral hollowness and hypocrisy. So I believe, this was the time she understands that a miracle is going to happen. She believes the miracle would be her husband would take all the charges from her, and protect her from the cases of the forgery. But what Ibsen was pointing of the miracle was how Nora is going to realize her true potential, her true identity. So she writes here, the tragedy that transcends on their home begins with a realization of her own husband's moral hollowness and hypocrisy. She is here using the words, she's using the exact terms which is used to describe, and at the face of peril, abandoning her welfare. Now she is also presenting the other side of the argument that Torvald is also not the person who is the culprit. It was the societal injustice or the societal laws to which both of them, both Torvald and Nora, are subjected to. Now she presents, although Torvald the only was only behaving as what is expected of a man of the time to save his honor even at the cost of his wives. This is the critique not of the man himself but of the social construct that dictates such differing expectations from a man and the wife, and not of man and the woman. Now she is presenting how Towel is also not the culprit. The culprit is the social construct. Okay, next she writes, even for, okay, we can also note that she's changing the paragraphs every time. Keep a note on that. Even for a tarantula dance, Nora requests Towel's guidance. Now she's using a quotation, but she's not changing a line, just she's using it in a sentence so that it incorporates together. Now guide your little lark, like you always do. You must teach me Towel. Presents Nora dependence. Even more does add it portrays how much Towel appreciates being superior to her. Now, by addressing her as his pet, laws he has set on her, like to not eat the macaroons. Now, these are the context from the text itself. Now, she's presenting the examples and pushes her to tell lies, revealing a Nora that complies with being a doll wife in Towel's dollhouse. Towel's criticism of Nora's spending, all the while she had managed to pay off the debt. Now, this also presents an ironic picture of what Towel thinks of Nora and what Nora actually is. And pay off a debt to Krogstad reveals her treatment as being incapable of financial prudence, while she has managed that for 9 years, paying off the interest to saving Towel's life. Now, this is what actually she was talking about, how feminism was viewed through the lens of a male character, or the male dominated society, and what actually feminism or the female capability is. Also here, now she's presenting another the other female characters, because enough of talking about Nora, we also have another characters like Mrs. Lind. So now here she presents Mrs. Lind. It is also the construct of Mrs. Lind angst for companionship, while she grows while she grieves as has no life to live for, while Nora realizes that she lived for was a castle of cards, and her primary duty is to herself. Even though Mrs. Lynn was married to a man she wasn't in love with, she still seeks meaning in her own existence. Now, this is also the context of Mrs. Lynn, who was also a female there. So, we just do not have to stick to one character there. If you're going to explore other characters also, it will show your diverse understanding of the novel as well, and the diverse understanding of the characters and the period, the different characters. Mrs. Lind was another character from the play, where she although she wasn't married to the person she admired the most, but she has to uh, just give off her willingness to marry the love of her life, and she was also struggling in her own life. So now here also we see that she writes, she still seeks meaning in her own existence in the hope of a domestic life, despite feeling proud of earning almost like a man. Now it is presented that although Mrs. Lind was financially independent, but she had no meaning in her life, because she was, whatever she was yearning for, she could not achieve. And the other thing was with Nora. Nora married the man whom she loved, but she had no financial independence. So this was the two contrasting pictures of the two female characters. Nora, musing on secretly aspiring for being loved by a rich man, flirts with the then conceived notions of um, marital fidelity that was a shock to Mrs. Lynn, Christian prison of thoughts. Now, it is a very dimension of expressing feminism where the moral fidelity or the sexuality of a female is expressed. Now, Nora's identification of her own sexuality being independent of her marriage is a silent revolution subtly featured in Ibsen's theatre. So now it also presents how the sexuality of a woman is suppressed, and Nora is also presenting certain hints of how she's silently opposing the oppression of her sexuality and her identity. Now, in the next paragraph, she writes, while Nora leaves to take off a masquerade dream, slamming the door behind, carrying the invisible flag of the silent revolution. Now, how she is using the slamming the door, the invisible flag of silent revolution. Towel is left stunned while the audience, after the trauma, identifies with the injustice of Towel's final offers to her. The only decades later. Now, Towel is the person like the audience who's not able to comprehend what actually happened, and he was not able to identify where and what things went wrong. It was many years later he'll realize, or what maybe he realizes, or maybe he doesn't. And this is what the society is actually. Maybe the society will never know what how much a woman is subjected to, and what are the oppressions women face. So now Nora's rebellion is highly internal. This is very important of how a woman, or feminism starts from within of a person, and how it is presented in the in the drama, of how she's being a rebellion by paying the debt, although she told lies. She uh, she uh, she ate macaroons even though Towel did not like it. She did a tarantula dance, which was so energy full of energy. And she also dreamt of she also dreamt a rich man would be in love with her. And how she finally takes a strong stand for her, and she slams the door and she moves out from the doll house where she was supposedly a doll. And this was the internal rebellion which finally came out as to be of substance, and finally which registered a mark in her married life. And Towel says, or offers, I will be both will and conscience to you, Nora. So this is also a very important quotation of the novel. And she says, and leaves us wondering where to rest Nora's very own will and conscience. So if Towel would be the conscience and will of Nora, where will the conscience and will of Nora be? Now that seemed to be more solid and tenacious than Towel's from the beginning. Now we have understood, we have seen the growth of Nora to be from a meek or a gullible person who was appearing to be meek and gullible. Actually, she was a very independent and strong woman, and how she took the decision of leaving the dollhouse or leaving the identity which she was subjected to. So this was a more dynamic character, which we initially we supposed Nora to be very plain character, but actually she was the most dynamic character of the drama. The next paragraph says, a doll's house thus demarcates the injustice the institution of marriage does to the woman. Okay, demarcates the injustice the institution of marriage does to a woman. So okay, now the doll's house has been woven around the institution of marriage. So here she presents that how marriage, what the institution of marriage actually does to a woman. So does it point to the intangible cords we tied to the woman, to even in the 19th century, this being the grave injustice done to Nora by the society built for men by the laws of men. So this is very important. These are important lines which she has written and she has presented in the concluding paragraphs. Hence, by hoisting the flag of feminist evolution in modern drama, Doll's House leaves the 19th and 20th century to the reverberations of the wooden door closed behind the ages of female subjugation and patriarchy, until we are willing to open our minds to acknowledge women as individuals on uh, equal destiny, or I think it's liberty with men. Okay, equal terms with men. Okay, so now she's writing that how okay, there was, I think there's a quotation which says of Iconoclast, the James Hunniker had said, the slammed door reverberated across the roof of the world. And so there is also a good quotation of this. You can also use these quotations at the end of the answer. She has also presented this quotation in a explained manner. She has explained the quotation in a very good manner, so you can also do that. So this is the entire answer. So this was a fairly long answer. We did not get this much amount of space, but we can learn a lot of things, how every paragraph is dealing with something different, and how every paragraph is presenting a new dimension of what a feminist reading, or what phase of feminism, or what colors of feminism we can bring out from the novel. And also not just one character, but also we have discussed about Towell and Mrs. Lind. You can also discuss about the person who was working at Nora's home. She had left her children to earn money. So you can also write about those women, and other, if you find out other people or other women, you can talk about those people, and you have to give a valid argument, so that your argument does not feel hollow, or it does not feel that you've just added characters for the sake of adding. Just keep on exploring and keep on writing about these feminist readings, because these questions are frequently repeated from the previous years, and it will be repeated in the next years also. Okay, this was Anjali S. Ma'am's copy. We'll be discussing other copies as well. Uh, okay, till then, thank you.